Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Do I hear a motion to accept the minute of the July 12th, 2023 meeting?
So moved.
Second. Moved in second, any discussion? Hearing none. Aye. See. Motion is carried. Let's see, so we have two sets of minutes or just one? I'll get the one.
Yeah, there's two in there. I just put it in one thing, so I'll try to go through it as quick as I can.
Communications operating report for the July and August.
Yep. So let me just scroll down to get there. All right, so for the month of July, we averaged 3.9 million gallons. And Phil, you can hear us, right?
Yes, I can hear you, Mark.
BOD, we had 98% removal efficiency. Suspended solids was 98.5. We were 18 pounds under the nitrogen limit in July, and the total phos was 51 pounds, and total E. coli was 3.6. Month of August, we averaged 3.5 million, 98.8 removal efficiency for BOD, 98.7 for suspended solids, 32 pounds under the limit for nitrogen, and the total effluent for phosphorus was 1.49, which is 43 pounds, and then an E. coli GO mean of 6.3 for the month of August. Any questions on that?
So with all this rain, Mark, the flow, I mean,
Yeah, so we haven't had, if you look at like the daily max, like this isn't the actual peak, it was like the highest day combined. So July was 5.4, August was 4.2. August was a little bit drier. To put in perspective, today we did 15 million. So we had some high peaks, but today actually the effluent pumps pumping out to the river are still on. So we were ranking pretty good today. So, but yeah, but no issues permit wise with all the flow in July. The average was obviously higher, but we didn't have any problems. Engineering report.
We sort of skipped over August.
Oh. Go ahead if you have any questions on it.
I guess we're not a heck of a lot different than July.
Yeah, it was all the same. Max flow is 4.2. Removal efficiencies were actually a little bit higher, and then 32 pounds under the permit, and E. coli was 6.3 going out.
Okay. Got the project engineer report. Currently.
Yep.
The July, August.
So July 10th, we had a wet well alarm at Pequavic. All the levels were normal. We just think a piece of debris or something might have hit the float and triggered it. We checked it a couple times after, didn't have any issues. Batterson, July 11th, we reset the valve vault alarm. We had some rain, obviously, from the month of July, so we pumped some of that out. We haven't had the alarm come back in. The cupola at Snowberry we painted, added some wood that was rotten to it, reinstalled it on July 13th. July 14th, we pumped out the meter pit at Hyde Road. Same reason, we just had a ton of rain, so they kept filling up, excuse me. Harlan Road, we had a high current alarm at the pump station. Reset it, pumps ran without incident. We're cleaning the wet well next week, actually. It's not too bad, but we try to clean them all at least once, especially before the winter. August 24th at West Farms, we received a loss of phase alarm. It's the same one from the previous months when the generator kicks on. So we're just trying to kind of pinpoint what's going on with the frequency there to try to figure out exactly what's going on. Pump station upgrades and collection systems. In the month of July and August, we jetted Bidwell Square, Copper Mine, Executive Drive, Fieldstone Run, Hidden Oak Drive, Homestead, Horseshoe Lane, Lovely Street, Main Street, and Wood Run. We also assisted highway in cleaning and vacuuming storm drains on Cambridge Crossing and Townsend Road. We inspected the sewer line on Walnut Farms Road after a homeowner had called about gravel in their lateral. This was actually one of the days after we had another 3 or 4 inch storm. The sewer line was normal. They are pretty low on the elevation there, but we just think they had some if there's a small crack in the line or something, I guess the rotor rooter who was out there saw roots, so it could have been something from their own lateral. July 27th, the Avon and Crocus Lane flow meters were calibrated. Both were under the permissible limits. On August 3rd, we filled a sinkhole on the Hillstead property close to High Street. Sewer line was not unaffected, but they just noticed it when they were mowing. August 4th, we vacuumed and cleaned 2 storm drains at Noah Wallace School. There's a bunch of sticks, like leaves, and some of the toys from the back were inside the drains. So we just put them on an annual cleaning schedule. If they have an issue, they can call us. We'll just go up and vac them out. Throughout the months of July and August, we inspected right-of-ways. Inwood Lane, Westwoods, and Brookshire up by Cumberland Farms were all inspected and cleared. And we worked with highways and sewer camera to identify problem areas. Storm line on Dorr Street was cambered, as well as a sewer line below. They had found a sinkhole. We wanted to make sure it didn't affect either of the lines, and neither were affected. Also, do you want to go over this now, Jim, or do you want to do it at the end of the report for the pump station?
At the end.
Okay. Repairs and maintenance at the WPCF, reset primary pump 2 after high pressure. There's nothing found in it, so we think it was just a fluke. We serviced and calibrated the influent and effluent flow meters. Our state permit requires it every year before July 31st, so that was completed, met all manufacturer specifications. Oil was changed on the trucks. On July 28th, we adjusted the brushes on the final clarifiers for 2 and 3. August 9th, we installed a new waste pump motor for number 2. The original motor was sent out for rebuild. That one just failed. We had a critical spare, so that one's in. We sent the other one out to be rebuilt. The effluent water strainer was also inspected and cleaned. That provides water for all our dewatering systems and the hydrants. And we changed the fluid in the front axle bearing of the vac truck. And as we went over in the summary reports, we're under the permit in July by 18 pounds and 32 pounds in August for the nitrogen. And the flow meters were calibrated. That's pretty much it. Let me scroll down to the pump station summary.
Let's see, back it up.
Yep, go ahead.
We're talking about the flow at the facility here, but
Yep.
how about like the Avon? What happens?
So Avon goes up pretty good, actually. I can pull up. I'll put one of the summaries in the next meeting, but actually for the month of July, they were over 700,000. So the new billing, they have to average over 700 for the quarter for all 3 months, which if we had a month like July for August and then this September, they probably would. I know in the spring it was very close. I think they were like 680 for the spring, but July they were way over the 700.
Yeah.
So there's days they hit 1 million. So their main flow meters typically 300,000 to 400,000, and that was going up almost 700. And then Crocus Lane was close to 200,000 or 300,000. So a good amount from them.
Okay.
So this is just the summary of, let me see if I can enlarge it a little bit. All our pump stations and basically the ages, the components, including the generator age, the INC, the instrumentation and control age, and then the pump and motor age. So if you see the year built, obviously that means the wet well and the building is included in that year. So I put anything under 20 years old in green, which is pretty much the industry standard. You could push to say under 30 would be red, but you're probably fine under 30 years. And then anything over 30 years, I put in red. So you can kind of see, even though there's a couple in red, if you look at the important components, such as the instrumentation, the controls, the pumps, the motors, both of those columns have all been replaced under 30 years. So short of, knock on wood, an actual wet well collapse or something really bad, the important components have been replaced. So looking forward, the old stations are Allstate. I'm not even gonna look at corporate because that's 1990. Devonwood, Harlan, Southwood, and Tunxus. Tunxus is so small. I mean, it will almost gravity to the plant, so it's not a pressing issue. I would argue Devonwood is on that list too, but it's 1989, not 1969. So even though they're over 30, the problem ones you're typically we're looking at replacements now are Allstate, Harlan, and then South Road. Allstate and Harlan, I actually went through with the engineer about 2-3 weeks ago. So we're going to be getting some quotes for that. But again, the generators should be here in December for Allstate and Harlan. And at that point, the only original parts of that station are the physical wet well and the building that everything's in. South Road is definitely in the horizon, but we're looking at contacting the DOT to see if that might be possible to move it to their property. But obviously there's quite a bit that's going to go into that because we got to extend it probably 800 feet through a wetland area to get there. The issue with that station has always been it's on private property. We don't have a hard generator hooked up, and it's not as easy as just building a station in somebody's backyard. So we've thought about moving it, but obviously it's not a small undertaking. So hopefully in the next 2-3 years, the only ones that we'll have left that are 1969 would be really Tungus or South Road. And again, South Road's a small station, but that's kind of the game plan to move it.
Where is corporate park?
Executive Drive. So if you go down, and then,
Road or there.
yeah, like right off of Scott Swamp, and you go in the back, I think there's like a big, I don't know if it's like an indoor soccer place or like
Yeah.
across,
Yeah.
but that's
Yeah.
right across the street from there.
In the old gym.
Yep.
Which is
Yep.
Church or will be a church.
And corporate, like I said, it's red, but it's 1990.
Show my age, I mean, I came on when that thing was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not that old, right? It's, but the components, like I said, we did the pumps and the motors. We did the INC in 2014, pumps and motors in 15. The generator, we're probably going to proactively start replacing. Again, a lot of these they get little use. Obviously, if one of these that was 1969 was, Yukon, West Farms, or Stanley, obviously we'd be making one of those priority too. But
You want to talk about the West Farm some more? Or?
yeah, so I don't want to take up too much time, but so West Farms, next meeting, I'm going to bring the plans. I'll scan everything and so you can see them, but we already have all the as-built drawn up. We're estimating probably 1.5, maybe to 2, depending on inflation and what it's going to be by the time we go out to bid and do everything. But West Farms, again, even though it's not in red, we have all the issues of cavitation there because the pumps are pumping all the way up South Road.
Yeah.
So we already had, I'm trying to think, I think it was 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, where the volute literally was worn down to almost paper thin and it broke loose. So the entire wet well and anything in the line from West Farms filled up the actual dry pit where the pumps were and flooded the whole station. So obviously we spent a lot of money in 24 hours to fix that. Luckily we had spares here, but we're trying to prevent that because that's a problem just based on the pump head and the cavitation that's probably going to keep happening. We epoxied the volutes. We're hoping we get more than 20 years out of it at this point, but that one's on the radar. So we had DPC engineering look at it. We have room where the playground is across from Orchard and Fairview on South Road. So we're looking at putting a station in there. It would basically cut the head in half for that pump station, which would almost solve the cavitation issue. We could also, in the plans, we have a small area for 1,000-gallon chemical tank. So we could add permanganate or anything we wanted for H2S, which would also help on any odors going up the hill too for Batterson. So that's the ultimate plan for West Farms. Like I said, we're estimating 1.5 to 2. This was probably going to go out to bid a little bit sooner, but we had the issues at the force main at Patrick, so that's a priority now. But it'll be the force main, West Farms, and then looking at the Allstate and the Harlan totals and see where we're at. So that's kind of the long-term plan where we're at right now.
So the new intermediate station at West Farm,
Yep.
where would that pump to? Right.
That's gonna Batterson, yep. So, and the thought process was like, we were adding totes of permanganate at West Farms, and then we were adding some permanganate at Batterson because we had some of the odor complaints, which we have not had in over a year now. But if we hit it at this station, you could probably fill 1,000-gallon tank and be good for a minimum of 6 months.
Cut
So-
down on chemicals then.
Cut down on chemical, and if you read anything on where you dose it, you want to dose it almost like halfway up on the elevation before it gets to the station where the odors are, because it has time to mix. So it's almost a perfect location too, and there's room there to do it. So it'd be indoors, you wouldn't see anything, and it would work out well.
So, just to recover what's the priorities in what order?
I didn't put the Patrick Flood Force Main on here, obviously, that would be first. If you asked me a year ago, I said we made a repair, should be good, but we had the second repair this year, so 2 repairs in 2 years within 16 feet of each other. I think it's probably the whole street has the compaction issues, which is what we're seeing, so do the Patrick Flood Force Main first. 500 to 750 probably. Then we'd go out to bid for West Farms, get that intermediate station in, and then probably Allstate and Harlan Road at that point. And we could certainly do a different pump or a generator at Tunxus. We could do stuff at corporate too. Like I definitely want to do the INC at corporate, upgrade that maybe an Allen Bradley and Ethernet. But that's the order. Yeah, like these are all small things. Like you could do an entire INC upgrade at corporate for probably 15,000. And then again, short of a wet wall issue, which at 30 years I wouldn't worry about. I start worrying about wet walls at 50. Yeah. So
Okay, any questions on any of that? Okay. Got the new business, the meeting schedule here for next year, it's second Wednesdays, and as past, as long as I can remember.
yep.
Any questions on the schedule? Okay. Any other business, is that where,
That's it.
okay? Any other business? Hearing none, all in favor to adjourn?
So move, like,
Okay, motion carried.